So our first guest this morning is known as Hollywood's premier hostess during awards season for over 3 decades. Cheryl Cecchetto's company, Sequoia Productions, has produced the coveted Emmy Awards Governor's Gala for 28 years, has produced the Academy Awards Governor's Ball for 33 years, and the LA Philharmonic Black Tie Gala for 6 years, amongst all of her other productions. So after getting a quick glimpse into her fantastic world, we're going to be joined by Rachel Horgan, who is a member of our industry. She's been in the corporate planning world for several years, and now is the founder and host of the weekly Seattle podcast that's famous for recapping all of your local business stories each week. So now, here to share a few entertaining behind-the-scenes stories and words of wisdom on how to keep those guests coming back year after year and to answer some of your questions, thank you, Rachel, please help me welcome Sequoia Productions founder and CEO, the one and only Cheryl Cecchetto. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. Pass off the clicker.
Wow,
over 3 decades. She's aging me, isn't she? Holy moly. I love it, though. I'm seasoned, really good wine. But before I start, really, I want to thank Lisa Schulteis. She invited me here, the executive director of this amazing show. So thank you, Lisa. Devin, thank you for that phenomenal introduction. And Rachel, I look forward to speaking with you. So I'm here. I'm going to speak to you for about between Rachel and I, 50 minutes, and I'm going to cover over 30 years of my life. So bear with me as I clip through and I answer some questions that I think that you have for me. All of your events and me being up here today, you want to be inspired, you want some information, you want some organizational skills, perhaps you want to just hear a great story, but you want an altered state. You want to leave here with something different. Well, isn't that what all your guests want? They want to leave your events with something different. So the next day they can say, did you taste that? Did you hear that? Did you see that? And I believe in communicating through all senses because we all listen and learn and gather information in different forms. So let's get to it right now. I'm often asked, my number one question is, how did you get into this business? I did not want to go into this business. I'm an actress. I have a theatrical degree. I have a fine arts degree. That was that. I'm from 300 miles north of Toronto. Our freeway's a bridge. New York, I went to study. Here I come as an actress, Shelley Winter's assistant, right? And I need a part-time job because acting doesn't really pay the bills. Though if you do Google LA Law, you'll see me in the Burt Reynolds, The Girls in Jail episode. So here I am. I'm auditioning catering companies that do massive events. I grew up in the service business with an uncle with a huge restaurant and banquet hall. And I ended up working for 2 amazing men, and they were my mentors, Carl Bendix, the late Carl Bendix, and David Corwin, and I ran their floor for the Oscars, which was approximately 1,500 guests. The person I was answering to was never available to go to meetings, so they sent me. I would go to these meetings. I love organization, by the way. I think I'm a really great balance between right and left brain, which you really need for this business. So they'd ask a question. I'd put up my hand. I'd answer the question. I'm thinking to myself, I got to get to that audition. After 2 years of this, the Academy asked me to represent the Academy as their, at that time, coordinator. Names have changed. There's several names. There's coordinator, there's planner, there's producer. So I thought, what are they talking about? I'm an actress. Well, I might as well do this part-time. By the way, I have never worked on anyone's payroll. I have only freelanced. I still freelance. So that's how it all begun. And after a couple years of understanding the love of events and how my theatrical degree could transform into many opinions and options and experiences, I was home run, and I was so happy to throw away those headshots and sides and all of that. So I am no longer an actress. 2 years in. I want to give you a couple different examples now, because my next question that I think people are asking is, how do you create, where do you get your ideas? That is the number 1 question, well, number 2 question that I get asked all the time. So I'm just going to give you a couple samples of my events and how the ideas came about. I was working for Joe Stewart for one of the Emmy events. He was our chair for that particular year of the Emmys, and he gave me one word. By the way, he designed all the Friends sets. So you could imagine me up against Joe Stewart, and oh my God, am I going to be able to, pull this off? He said, red. That was it, red. So I went back and I came up with various ideas which looked like a series of scenes from a horror film. He said, not red. So I did a survey. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to ask 50 people, what's the second word after red? Well, the number one answer was rose. The second answer was lips. So I thought to myself, I am going to figure out how to get red rose into my event. I was in the Toronto airport. I mentioned that I'm Canadian. And Richard Serra's unbelievable installation, metal installation, just blew me away. I thought to myself, those are petals of a rose. They're just on the ground. I'm going to put them in the air. And we did. We built this 120-foot rose in the center of a convention center, which is nothing but auto shows, and we made the entire room red. The tablecloths, the chairs, the florals. Oh, by the way, there were 100,000 roses at each one of these events. If somebody came to your door with a dozen roses, what would you think? Would you think somebody cares about me? Somebody loves me? Could you imagine the guests walking in and seeing 100,000 roses? They felt they were so special. Even the band, and I did not pick a band with the name Red in it. The band was called the Red Hots. We had, you'll hear that I'll often say, bring a surprise, bring something unknown. Don't give it away at the beginning of your event. Events are a set of stairs, one stair at a time. Our performers were hidden amongst the petals. And about 10 minutes in, we brought the lead singers down from the ceiling into the space. So where does an idea come from? I don't know. Walking, a person gives you a word, walking in the airport. I'm going to give you a couple other examples. All right, I'm watching Jacques Cousteau, and I'm fascinated. First of all, I think Jacques Cousteau is one of the most phenomenal artists, technician, scientist, and the documentaries always blew me away. I love documentaries. So I'm watching Jacques Cousteau, and I'm watching these sea anemones. I'm thinking, well, why can't we have sea anemones? So that's exactly what we did. We built, out of a very inexpensive plastic bead, we built sea anemones. They undulated within, and they were also on motors so they could float in the sky. And then we went drastic, and that's a really good tip. If you want to really have an impact on your audience. I'm not one to muddy the waters with color. I like clear messages with color. So we painted the entire room black and white with these floating sea anemones in the air. At a certain point in the evening, when the band ramped up, the plastic bead, which was not a clear bead because it won't capture light, it was like sort of a muted plastic opal color, would grab light, and we would 100% change the feel in the room. Black and white, but it had a sense of humor. Look at the chair covers. That's insane. Who would have striped black and white chair covers at a governor's ball? Well, we did. Take the mission, take the absolute drive of your event and pull it through. Florals can be in vases. We know that they can be in vases. The look right now is very whimsical. All of our arrangements were geometrical. They all had various shapes and a lot of linear lines, and we repeated it throughout the entire room. I'm sure you've seen these musicians in the past. I'm sure you've seen them at other events. They're massive drummers. Their drum sets are something like 15 feet by 15 feet. At this same event, at a certain point in the evening, from 4 pedestals in the corners, we had these drummers, which were all beautifully spot-lit, and a drumming kit in the center on a rotating stage, a cake formation. We had these drummers perform. Please give your audience a surprise at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. Think of a surprise. I'm doing very well, aren't I? I have this wonderful timer down here. Okay, Oscars. So as Devin said, we produced the Oscars for 33 years. That's a lot of time to come up with a lot of ideas. That was 8 presidents, 3 CEOs, 3 CFOs, and I think I had a total of 9 ball chairs. So the hardest task for longevity in any business and with any client is new leadership. They want to bring in their own people because they've made a change and they've earned that beep, beep, beep salary. So here's the deal. Make sure that you create the umbilical cord. And I talk about umbilical cords all the time. Make sure you create the umbilical cord with the entire tier. Is it a circle? Is it a triangle? I don't care what it is. It's all joined. It's all joined. So every person is absolutely essential to every other person. So make sure that when you create your umbilical cord with a company, that you create your umbilical cord with the secretaries, with those that are in charge of logistics, with those in financial, not just the top tier. But don't forget about the top tier. So this was the Oscars. We were asked to produce a chandelier like no other. Well, this chandelier, I believe, was about 160 feet in diameter, and it repeated and repeated and repeated. I'm looking at these pictures in that video that you saw prior, and Rachel said to me, wow, that's really beautiful. I said, I see a ton of work. The detail that go into these type of events are absolutely mind-boggling. There is nothing in that ballroom that actually existed. We covered up the entire ballroom. Now you're thinking, what do? I don't have that budget. Let me tell you, the largest events actually have the least budgets. But so you have to get super creative with the materials that are not experienced, but it's how you format it, what you're looking at, and why it looks so beautiful. Obviously, we laid in lighting on each one of the ovals, which gave a beautiful glow, and also I could change the lighting. But what you're looking at is geometry that repeats itself over and over again, not only in the ceiling, but also the floor. Okay, I'm ripping through this as quickly as I can. This is another great event. And when I tell you what these 5,000 tubes are hanging from the ceiling, you're not going to believe it. I'm flipping through a magazine. I'm still an old-fashioned girl that actually looks at a magazine, doesn't really, my eyes are not glued on my computer all the time. And I go to a library. And I turn off my phone, and I'm absolutely absorbed with inspiration. I'm just flipping through a magazine one day, and I see this fabulous chandelier made out of bamboo. I thought, that is so beautiful. Our chair at the time had a musical history. I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we took a lot of these tubes, there's 5,000 of them, by the way, a lot of these tubes, and hang them in a formation that is very musical, that sweeps through the space. Well, that's easy to say, but our technical team knows, well, you've got speakers in the way. Well, you've got lighting in the way. How do you deal with that? And it was definitely a challenge. This is actually the last sit-down dinner for the Emmys, by the way. Sit-down dinners are gone. It's all small plates. It's all casual seating. Nobody wanted to sit at a table of 12 who they knew all their lives or work with. They wanted to move. So there you are, history in the making. Just another angle of this incredible, magical ceiling that we have. If you can see, if you looked at the whole lighting plot, you would see that we dodged the 5,000 cardboard, painted, flame-retarded gold tubes. That's all they were, was cardboard. And that was a very expensive purchase, but it's made to look so important. And that's a big key. Are your choices important? That was the entrance, which I just loved that entrance when people came in. Again, I started this conversation with, you want to leave here with something different, and you want your guests to leave with something different. They completely and totally were transformed when they walked into their set. Their gowns, their tuxedos made sense. Okay. The next slide, I'm not going to show you quite yet, unless, let me see what my next slide is. Okay, good. Another question I'm asked, what is my funniest moment? We all have funny moments. If you don't have a sense of humor, you better just leave this business, because everything happens. We can set the food and the music and the look and the experience and the activations and all of that now, all of that, but something's going to happen that you don't expect. Cloris Leachman, if I go back to the scene in Emmy, you all know who she is, the actress, right? She passed away, I think, about 8 years ago. We had mime artists in the corner. She stopped, and she animated with this mime artist for 30 minutes and had 200 people watching her. Who expected that? So what did I do? Guys, I need more light. Bring more light out. We got a little show in the corner here. All right, my funniest moment. First year at Hollywood and Highland, at the venue that has been curated developed, and produced for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Bruce Davis, the CEO at that time, said, Cheryl, we do not want you to cover up the room. We want you to utilize everything in the room. I walked in the room, and the curtains were orange organza. I'm not talking dull orange, I'm talking bright orange. The ceiling was nothing. I felt like I was in some sort of an industrial warehouse. There was nothing attractive. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to distract everybody from this, and I'm going to create something that's so interesting on their table. And the first thing that came to my mind was fish. Goldfish, orange goldfish. So if you notice here, these are tanks above the table. Some were round and some were square. And they had aerations down the legs of the tank. Underneath was the aeration machine, so the fish would live. I tested these fish. There were not just goldfish. There were fancy fish, there were koi fish, there were goldfish. There were about 6 or 7 different types of fish. I thought, well, if you get to the table and you think, oh my goodness, we've got a fish tank above us, that will distract you, don't you think? So everything worked out. I'm telling you, we rehearsed these fish. I had a beautiful Lico coming down onto the tank. I didn't seal it up because I liked the way the water and the light was working together. It's sort of like I built a mover, which is a light fixture, a mover personally on each table. And can I just repeat, I did rehearse all the fish. And can I also tell you that out of the 1,500 fish, I had fish wranglers, by the way, at this event. Put that on your contact sheet. So out of the 1,500 fish, I only lost 3 when this was all over. It's 20-8. The Oscars show is next door. All of a sudden, one of my fish wranglers, they had the little net inside their jacket, just in case anything happened. I mean, what if something happened? What if a fish died and someone's having dinner? I have to deal with it, like, quickly, somehow. So I get on my radio, Cheryl, koi jumped on table 42. Koi, you know what? First thing, when I don't believe something, I'm kind of like, have this, you're so wrong. Koi jumped on table 42. Okay, forget it. That's a fluke. Get that koi, put it in a tank, in the office. That koi is not going to make it to the ball. Okay, literally, now it's like 15 minutes to, Cheryl, 39, koi jumped. What? And then immediately after, Cheryl, 14, koi jumped. Okay, guys, all koi are leaving the tank. There's 3 koi in each tank, fish wranglers, everyone. I'm on the chair. Took off my heels with my gown and going, koi, koi, koi. Next table, koi, koi, koi. You have 1,500 guests, tables of 10 and 12. Imagine the tables we had to do within 15 minutes. I had to take all those tanks times 3 koi and put them in tanks in the office. Here comes my client. It's about 10 minutes to. His name is Rick Robertson, sweetheart. And one of my notes afterwards, when something's wrong, tell the truth. He goes, Cheryl, how you doing up there? What are you doing up there? I said, oh, just checking out the view. And he goes, oh, the fish are jumping. I said, the fish are jumping. So then he says to me, are you going to make it? I said, we are going to make it. And we did. You know, it wasn't funny at the time, right? But it sure is funny now. Anyway, all the koi did make it. The fish were all donated afterwards. I did lose 3, and I think I aged about 10 years that night. All right, what was one of my favorite moments? Another question. We did the opening of CHLA in Los Angeles, the hospital, and that was, I think, about, maybe about 8-10 years ago, and it was a beautiful event. It was magnificent. It's the Children's Hospital Los Angeles, CHLA, sorry, and it was so meaningful. We had Debbie Allen's troupe dancing. We had a full orchestra. We had unbelievable speeches and moments. And I said to them, look, I really only want, this is a fundraiser, this is a celebration, this hospital is going to go down in history. I really don't want to talk about everyone's problems. I just want to talk one patient that you think would be uplifting that I could have on stage. And we looked at several profiles, and they said, this little boy, Alex. So I went out to Alex's home, very humble, sweet home. He's sitting there, his little iPad or looking at video games or whatever. He's about 12 years old at the time, 11 or 12. And I thought, oh boy, how am I going to get something out of little Alex glued to his video games? Lo and behold, Alex has had and has titanium ribs. So by his age of 12, he had already 13 operations because his ribs didn't grow. He was the most delightful young boy. I was so pleasantly surprised. So I said, Alex, how's it going? What do you love? What do I love? Like, what do you really love? You know, because one of my philosophies, and I talk about this a lot, is passion. You must be passionate. You have to make money too, but passion is first. He says, I love to tap dance. Done. He loves to tap dance. I said, here's the deal, Alex. You're going to come up to the podium. First of all, you're going to say apple box, because he couldn't even reach the podium. His dad brought out the apple box. You're going to tell everyone in the audience who you are. My name is Alex. I'm 12 years old. I've had 13 operations. I have titanium ribs, right? And as soon as you're done with that, by the way, he did a shout out to his doctor and a shout out to his favorite nurse. It was so hard. It was just beautiful. So as soon as he's finished with that, I'm going to cue music. You're going to jump off that apple box and you're going to tap dance around. The music will fade when I feel it's complete. I could never complete the music. There was a standing ovation. People were cheering for him. It was incredible. It was a phenomenal moment of love and creation and development and an altered state. He leaves the stage. Here comes Billy Crystal. Has to follow that, Billy Crystal. The first thing he says is, where's my apple box? Anyway, that is really, still to this day, my favorite moment. Jeffrey Curlin was our ball chair this year. He's a costume designer. All he gave me, and I say me, and please, I'm going to put that aside. It's a team. It's a design team, and I'm going to show you a few pictures of our team in a moment. But it's a design team. He said he wanted the shape of a woman. Well, if you look closely, do you see the shape of the woman? And do you see the raised stage? That was the neckline, and I saw that all the orchestra was the head. So that was the shape of the woman. What am I going to do with the ceiling? If you research the original Saks Fifth Avenue, their entire ceiling has these wonderful layers. Like we built this, and all this is curved truss that has fabric on it. Smoke out fabric, by the way, because if anything happened, that there was a fire, it busts open every 6 feet. And so this entire ceiling was inspired by Saks Fifth Avenue. That's the shape of the woman. Because he's a costume designer, he designed every one of the jackets for the waiters. That was the last sit-down dinner for the Oscars Governor's Ball. It means a lot to me, because the detail that went into the work, detail like the border on the carpets, or the champagne collar, which matched some of the tablecloths, goes on and on. When you get to work with people like Jeffrey Curlin, you're lucky, because they absolutely elevate you to another place. Does that mean that I have how much time? I have to wrap it up. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to flip through pictures really, really quickly. I had a questionnaire that I'm not going to be able to give it to you, but I do have to wrap it up. Another picture of the exact same event. Tito Puente Jr., that entire stage was hidden within the center banquette. We flipped it in a minute and a half. My team, I said that it's just me up here speaking, but it's not. It's a team that's amazing. It's a team that contributes. Culture is so important. Please cultivate it. You should be treating your staff just as well as you do your clients and relationships after 30 years working with Wolfgang. Some of our principles, but I do have to wrap it up, so I am going to just say that these are Sequoia's principles. And my survey I was going to give you, and maybe I'll leave it with you, or I'll email it or give it to Lisa to email it to you. I have 15 questions for you to answer, and it'll really let you decide, is this business right for you? Thank you. Rachel. Did I really go 25 minutes? Did I really speak for 25 minutes?
I know, it goes fast. How are you liking Seattle? Are we treating you well here?
Wow.
Yeah? You got some sun, you got a storm, giving you all of it.
That's okay.
If you guys liked the photos that she was sharing and the stories she was sharing, she has a book. It's on Amazon. I bought it. Incredible. I laughed, I cried. I'm still working my way through it. So.
It really was, the phrase labor of love.
Yeah.
was so much work, but it is a really fun book. You can open up to any chapter. I'm not selling the book right now. There's no money to be made. It's just a title. You're now an author. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah. So you mentioned about how you were a coordinator with Governor's Ball and kind of got your way in. A lot of us want to get some of these high-end contracts. How were you able to get those and continue to get some of these high-end contracts?
So are you saying how can you secure
Correct. Yeah. How can you win the bid? Yeah.
Well, all I can tell you is that I was very lucky, but I also did have organizational skills that were noticed. I honestly think that if one job is great, people will find you. I know we have social media. I never even look at our social media. You just must give 110% at the job that you have so that the next person absolutely cannot imagine not securing. Now, that size of a job usually takes time. So it really is about the relationship that you develop at every level. And it's also about being aware and coming up with one of my questions was, do you have something different to offer? Something unique to offer? Something that you think that everyone must have at their event and experience. And they will find you. If your work is good and it's sincere and you really do have that 110% work ethic, clients will find you.
I love it. So another question, part of why I wanted to talk to you is, what changes when you get to that echelon of events with, and maybe that's infrastructure, communication, team size. What's different, or maybe it's not that different? Is it all kind of the same from traditional events?
Rachel, that's a really great question.
Thanks.
I must tell you, no, it's a really good question. So now you're dealing with the Joe Stewarts, that's the costume designer for Friends. Now you're dealing with, the producer of this. They have their careers. Most of the time in this type of an event, they are so established in their own career, you better be buttoned up and you better not waste their time. Also, you're dealing with dollars and cents that are, as I said, I really do feel that these budgets are tight, but they're different budgets than if you're throwing a party at someone's home. So you must be a genius when it comes to money. The entire elevation of leadership that you're dealing with is beyond that you would not even experience until you secure the know-how. I can stand up here because, as Devin said, I've been in the business for 3 decades. It wasn't my intention, but I did have the organizational skills to offer. So there was a niche. Finding the niche and really knowing who your client is. I had this conversation with my staff before I left. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? I'm talking to Rachel. I might talk to somebody else. It's not that I'm going to talk differently. I'm just going to think differently because I have to be hypervigilant and really get into their brain.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer.
I have to have a sip of water.
Please, take your time. I'll tell a story. No, I'm just
Tell a story.
Well, my podcast is recapping local business news stories, so that's part of why I wanted to interview you. So if you're interested in hearing about that, I interview a different CEO each week, and we kind of go over the top 5 stories. So you can check that out, The Weekly Seattle. Okay, back from commercial break. And so you shared a lot of different stories, which I love, and I know you have more in you. So I want to hear a little bit about a memorable challenge. Obviously, the fish is one challenge, but is there another challenge that sticks out to you, and how did you overcome it?
Should I tell the chandelier story?
I was hoping you would.
So another ball chair, Dwight Jackson, also a television scenic designer. These are really talented people. He says, well, you know what? I want the theme to be diamonds are a girl's best friend, Marilyn Monroe. I said, okay. I'm going to deliver a chandelier to her office. I said, okay. So he gets the chandelier at Costco. It comes to my office. Each of the chandeliers has something like 350 glass pendants. It comes assembled. Thank heavens, I thought, until I looked at the wire that was actually attaching the glass, not plastic, glass drops, hit head, hurt, attached from the pendant to the base, the actual base of the chandelier. They were so cheap. I don't know how many he ordered. All I know is at my office, I think we have a photo to show it, don't we? Don't we have the chandelier photo?
Justin? Is that it?
Oh, that's it. That's one. And can we go to the second one? Do you see all the bracelets hanging from the ceiling? I think he ordered something like 250, and we had to change 250 times 300, glass pendants in my office so that I was not going to have anything fall on anybody's head. And that's what it ended up looking like. But just note that every one of those chandeliers had 300 and some glass times 200 and some chandeliers to create these magnificent necklaces hanging from the ceiling, so you can know what we were all doing for 2 weeks straight.
I think in the book there was something like a total of 99,000.
No, it was staggering.
I love that. I feel like that's events, those all the behind the scenes that we deal with that a lot of people would never think about. I want to talk about your industry. We all deal with high pressure situations, but when you're dealing with something like the Oscars, that's a different level of high pressure. How do you maintain calm? How do you maintain control? What about you kind of sets you apart in that way?
It's really about detail. You know, people say to me, 1,500 people. The Emmys are 8,000 between 3 events, but you don't look at it that way. You must take the entire space and divide it up. I would say 1,500, fine. Divided by 15, okay. Those are all individual restaurants which have their own staff, their own management, their own bar, their own service bar. So I take the mass, really the mass events that are aside from details and whatnot, and I completely and totally break it up into various rooms. Also, I'm really stuck on detail and pre-planning and job delegation charts and timelines and contact sheets and layouts and specifics. I know. My staff says you kill a lot of trees. I know.
You're talking to the right people. All of us are like, yes, we love those things.
Exactly. That's the only way you can manage these large events. Now, I've had some really uncomfortable situations happen at some of these high-profile events, and one person, I'm not going to mention a name, is in jail right now.
Do it. Oh.
Yeah, I won't even discuss that. Or maybe I should have even said that. Maybe I should cut that part. But it was really difficult. And sometimes you just can't deal with difficult in the middle of a ball. You have to take the situation and remove it. And perhaps at a later time, you can figure out, okay, that wasn't fair. That shouldn't have happened. What are we going to do about it? But in a circumstance, you've got to remove the difficult, make sure the person that is being abused or whatever is comfortable, right? Because we don't want anyone to be abused in any form or fashion at any event, and then move on with the event and deal with it afterwards.
I think because you're talking about you deal with a lot of celebrities that maybe don't want their picture taken or being approached as much, and kind of make sure you have boundaries around them, right? Yeah.
I have to tell you, I feel that celebrities get a bad rap. If I was a celebrity and I'm bombarded nonstop, and I think I would be exhausted. Yeah. I have to tell you, Emma Thompson, I helped her and I snuck her around to the when her Oscar was getting engraved, to the engraving station. Because you could imagine, in fact, on the way, she just wanted a glass of water. So I actually feel that seeing the celebrity so much in my work, and by the way, people say, oh, did you talk to this person? Did you talk to that person? No. That's not my job. My job is to make everything right so my clients can talk to that person, or that person can talk to that person. I'm not here to schmooze with celebrities. That's not my job. I'm a producer. But I do feel like the celebrities in Los Angeles are often, I don't know, there seems to be a feeling that they're put off or above it all. It's absolutely mind-boggling. You could go home to your home tonight and have a glass of wine or a cup of tea or whatever and peacefully be there. It's usually not the circumstance. And also this philanthropy that exists among them is staggering, because I've been a part of it for so many years, and it's been so wonderful to see the contributions.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the attendees are kind of like my children, like I don't see them. I agree with that. So because I host a business podcast and the title of Northwest Event Show is Events Driving Business, I kind of wanted to touch on that. What role do you think events play in the business world? And how have you seen that kind of change?
I have to tell you, I'm not a Zoom person, though I do go on Zoom. I didn't grow up with computers. I'm so sorry. Our phone was tethered to a wall. It was a party line. Seriously, one long, two shorts. But I feel that events are absolutely essential. We need to connect. We need to let people connect. We need to let people laugh, see each other, talk to each other. I mean, Rachel and I were on Zoom for a meeting, and now we met each other in person. It's a complete different, it's not better or worse. It's just a complete different feeling when you could actually talk to somebody. Brand. Do you see all the sponsors all over our videos? We take brands left and right, and this is the way that product is sold. I don't know if anybody knows the product Fresh. We introduced it to the world about 15 years ago. Fiji and wine, and literally, there are so many areas of brands to not only support your event, not only supply money and help your client with your event and increase your budget, but also to just sell their product. But I think we desperately need events and continue, especially after what we've gone through. LA's been hit so hard, not only with COVID, then there's the fires, then there's the strikes. What else? I think we had an earthquake a couple of weeks ago. What else? We must stay true to our events and the connections that we're making from person to person.
Yeah, you were talking about how a lot of products, like you said, are getting more involved with events or activations, and they're like kind of straying away from the traditional advertising avenue. Would you agree?
Oh, number one.
Yeah.
And it can be anything from something that you consume, something you see. I just got a call from my client and said this particular AV company wants exclusive 100%, and you might have to use them for this year's Emmys coming up. Well, I thought, well, that was pretty smart of that particular AV company to say the Emmys. So there's so many ways that not only from a product, Fiji is everywhere, you know, Justin Wines, there's so many products, but it's not just a product, it's also services.
I'm going to try and get one more story out of you if you have something.
Okay, and if I'm forgetting something, you can just say, hey, you forgot that.
Well, we asked about memorable and high pressure. Is there another behind-the-scenes story? I just love those. Any kind of behind-the-scenes that you can think of?
Give me a hint.
Well, you can choose whichever one you want. I was gonna. Well, you already did the chandelier one, but if you had a different one, if not, I have another question. We can skip.
Okay, suggest one.
Okay. Well, we'll skip to the next one.
Well, let's go. Okay.
We'll skip on forward. Okay, so let's talk about, we're running out of time a little bit here. So I want to look forward. How do you see the future of event production especially involving audience engagement and experiential design? What do you see moving forward?
So, you know, the look right now is very clean, very cut, right? And of course, it's very immersive. I think that it's our responsibility to not only connect with each other, but I think also, and another story maybe we could flip to, because I have a couple pictures here, is sustainability. I think it's really important that we do sustain with all of our events. Being Canadian, it's an incredible sustainability where I'm from. Literally, if you have more than one bag of garbage per week, you get charged $5 a bag. So with Sequoia, we are devoted not only on really making sure that everything is immersive, that there's an experience. I was very impressed with all the food trucks, by the way, on the floor. I thought to myself, we have an event coming up at Fox, and wow, like a dozen of these food trucks would be just so incredibly immersive, interactive. That's where we're after. But I think also sustainability is a really important factor, not only from recycling bottles and using biodegradable this and solar and whatever, but I think we have the opportunity to take our materials. We are not a company that stores product because all of our events must be customized, but sometimes I'll use a product over and over again. And I was telling Rachel the story of when we were, no, actually it was January, Emmys 2024, and we didn't know if we were going to even have an Emmys because of the strike. And I had to pull the trigger, and the client let me order a lot of chain. So I thought to myself, my God, I don't want to throw out all this chain. It was a lot of money. We'd shipped it in from China. So what we did was we took the exact same chain and created a fabulous lounge for another client.
Justin, do we have a picture of that?
I have the picture of the original Emmy event. This is all the change with these fantastic arches. And if you notice, you see all the columns right here? So we took the columns apart and used them, and you can flip to the next picture. That is a really beautiful lounge in the center of an NFL event in New Orleans that we just produced. Now, neither client really knew what I did, but I saved money for both. That's really helpful. And again, where was all this chain going to go? By the way, at the end of this event, I gave the scenic fabricator that built that center lounge the columns for them to use at several other events. So really try to think about how can we move product through various events, even giving it to another event company or a scenic company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got one more question for you, and it's just, what's next for Sequoia Productions? I know you're kind of moving away from the Governor's Ball. What's next for Sequoia? What's next for you?
Well, interesting. Cheryl Cecchetto has learned her lesson after 3 decades. She can't just submerge all of her work in the entertainment world, because if the entertainment world goes away because of a strike or whatever, where is she left? So we have really diversified. And I'm going to give you 2 tips. diversify. Make sure your clients are not all one category. So we have corporate clients, we have entertainment clients, we have personal clients, private clients, etc. Much, much smarter. Also, I mean, we're going to continue doing large events, and I can tell you that if you asked me to do my career all over again, and I said this to you on our Zoom call, Rachel, the problem with me is that I don't want to be the chef that just orders the food. I want to be the chef that cooks the food. So that didn't allow me to contemplate as much. Now, I would look back and I would say that the number one item that I didn't do enough was contemplate. And I'm always trying to get the younger generation. Don't turn on your computer and answer emails 100 miles an hour. Stop, contemplate, organize. And the other thing is to diversify your clients, because you'll get stuck. I was stuck during the strike of 2023, really stuck. We're very, very lucky, by the way, knock wood, that we made it after so many challenges in Los Angeles.
And weren't you saying multi-year contracts? Would you recommend that for people?
Oh, I didn't talk about that. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm running over again. Here's the thing. Once you do secure a client, we have clients 6, 10, 15, up to 33. You want a multiple year contract, but you're not going to get it till you deserve it. So did you come up with something that they couldn't even imagine could be possible? Did you give them back $1? That was one of my survey. Give them back $1, never, never, ever go over budget. Come back and give them a deal. All that chain, right? Then you can say, after 2, 3 years, I want to work on your brand, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It does happen because their metrics are very important to you. Gold Gala, which is Asian Pacific Islanders, that's the client, that's the leadership. They are now our multiple year client. They came to us the first year, second year out of their event, disaster. The metrics tripled. You want to secure that so you can say, oh, I got my year. 75% of it is multiple year. But how do you get there? It's a bit of a long story, but I hope I've given you abbreviated inspiration to definitely do it and how to secure it.
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for coming into Seattle. And we're going to be out in the speaker meet and greet for about 10, 15 minutes. So if you have more questions for Cheryl, please come join us. So round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.